In this lesson, we are going to create React context to handle state throughout the application, not only for specific components. What we're gonna do is to create a change theme button like this. And when you change the theme, it's gonna change the theme of your application. Let's go for it. Here is the plan. First of all, we need to create store.ts in the root of the src folder. So here inside src folder of frontend, right click new file, store.ts. The first step to create a context is to define the type of application state. I just set the type to this object. I defined app state. It's an object that has mode as a property of type string. Then I'm using mode for setting dark or light mode. Next step is defining initial state. It's an instance of app state type, and I define this object. In this object, I have mode, and it's time to define the mode value. Here is the value of mode. First of all, check local storage for mode, and if it does exist, use it as mode. Otherwise, check the web browser for the theme. If the selected theme by user in the browser is dark, set the mode to dark, otherwise set it to light. Here is the code to detect if the color preference of user is dark. If it's true, I set it to dark. Also, I'm using local storage to save the selected theme by user in the client. So when user go to this website later, we'll see the preference in that website. Great. I defined the initial state, and the next step is defining reducer to create a Redux context. Before going for reducer, I'm going to define action type. It's an object that has type, property, and the value of type is switch mode. I'm using action type in the reducer to set actions. Next step is defining a reducer. Here is the reducer function. Set define function reducer. It accepts two parameters. First one is a state of type app state, and second one is action of type action. The return value of a reducer is app state. So I get an state, edit the state, and return a new state of type app state. In the reducer, we have switch case to check action type. If action is switch mode, it means that user want to change the switch to dark to light or light to dark. So what I need to return is a new object, and this object has mode, but the value of mode is based on the previous value of mode in the state. If the previous value is dark, I change the new value to light, otherwise make it dark. For all switch cases, we need to have a default. And if the action type is not switch mode, return the previous state as it is. Next step is defining default dispatch. Default dispatch is a function that returns initial state. It runs at the very beginning of running the application to set the initial state for the application. Next step is creating context using react.createContext. The parameter is an object that has a state and dispatch. A state has the initial value, the initial state that we have defined here, and dispatch is default dispatch that we have defined here. So the default dispatch is an arrow function that returns initial state. After creating a store, we need to define store provider to wrap it around the application. Here is store provider function. It's like a React component that accepts probs, and probs is a React probs with children type. And inside that, we are going to return. And inside that, we are going to define reducer hook. Here is the reducer hook. Reducer accepts two parameters, the reducer function and the initial state. Here is the reducer function that we have defined here, and we already have initial state. What it returns is the state of application and a dispatch to change the state. The next step is returning store.provider. Before do that, let's rename store.ts to store.tsx because we are going to return a JSX element and it should be TSX. Also, because we are using JSX, import React from React. Good. Let's go for the last step in the store provider, and it's returning store.provider. Here is the return code. What I'm returning is a component inside store named provider. So the return context from store have been used here, the provider property of a store, to wrap the whole application inside a provider to provide these values, the state and dispatch from the use reducer. So I can access to the state and I can change the state using dispatch. Also, I'm going to keep other properties as they are. At the end, we need to export store and store provider like this. Next step is in the main.ts. Go to main.ts and wrap the whole component inside store provider. Move it after helmet provider and import it from store. Right here. Great. We created create. So we created React context and wrapped the whole component in store provider. Next step is using this context. Go to app.tsx and at the very beginning, call use context hook and pass store as parameter to this hook. Import use context from React and import store from store.tsx in the RC folder. What it returns is the state that dispatch that we have introduced as value here. So I can access to the mode using state and change it using dispatch function by dispatching switch mode action. Let's go for the next step. It's defining use effect. Import use effect from React. Next step is getting a state. Next step, let's get mode from the state. So I can put colon here and get mode from it in one line of code. And I'm going to use mode in the use effect to change the theme of application. Here is the code of use effect. Import use effect from React like this. And in the dependency array parameter of use effect, put mode. When there is a change in the mode, we want to change the theme of website. To change the theme of website, we use set attribute on the body tag of HTML document. What we do here is to set data-bs-theme attribute based on the selected theme. If it's dark, it's gonna be dark, otherwise it's gonna be light. Let's test it. This attribute's introduced in the version 5.3 of Bootstrap. So you need to go to Get Bootstrap so you need to check the package.json. So you need to check the package.json in the frontend folder and check your Bootstrap version. If it's less than 5.3, like what I have in my case, you need to go to index.html and from getbootstrap.com, click on download, find the JS Deliver link of CSS and put it right before Font Awesome link. Also make sure that inside app.tsx, also make sure that in the main.tsx, you remove the import of Bootstrap CSS. So you need to do this step if the Bootstrap version in package.json is less than 5.3. By having this change, let's check the result. Here I changed the theme of my browser to dark. So what I'm seeing here is the dark mode of application. Let's put a button like this one to change or switch the theme. It's super simple. Go to app.tsx, define switch mode handler function. It's an arrow function, and inside that we call dispatch from React context to dispatch this action. Set type to switch mode. In the store.tsx, when we dispatch this action, we check the state. If it's dark, make it light, otherwise make it dark. Let's use the switch mode handler. Inside app.tsx, find the nav here and create this button. Import the button from React Bootstrap, set variant to mode. So if mode is light, the variant of this button is light. For onClick, call switch mode handler. Inside this button, we are going to show an icon, but the icon is conditional. If the mode is light, use Font Awesome Sun, otherwise use Moon. Let's test it. Here I have this icon. When I click on it, it's changed. But as you see, the nav bar doesn't change. Let's fix it. Get rid of BG dark and variant dark here. Here is fully theme-based application. Great. In this lesson, we implemented theme using React context.